All right, so the goal here is to take a look at quarterback performance depending on how long they take to throw the pass. I think this first go through is probably just as much about coming up with good specific questions to then go out and try and answer as it is to come away with overarching takeaways. That being said, I think the first time going through it, there's going to be some neat things to recognize and some cool things to come away with. Different ways to measure quarterback performance. These are the ones that are built in currently, and some different lenses through which to view that performance spatially by looking at where those targets are occurring on the field, as well as the type of route that's being targeted, looking at the frequency that those routes are being targeted versus the rating generated, as well as the rate at which they're being completed and sort of the rate at which risky throws are being made. So I think the best place to start is probably just to look at all attempts and see where they fall in terms of how long it took to release them. I did factor out spikes, by the way. And about 17,000 throws on the season. So some of these buckets are pretty small. And so when looking at this, one of the things that we can come away with is a good sense of how to package these together in a way that makes sense. So we start off and we notice that quick throws were really successful this year. If we wanted to get real specific, we could pick 1.3 seconds as the optimal time to throw, generating a pass rating of 118.1. See a little bit of a dip as we get into the more popular times to throw between about 1.6 and 2.8 seconds. First real decline happening about 3.6 seconds or so, another decline about a second later. And so using that to inform where we make those cutoffs, we can look at some different ways to split it up, splitting them up in chunks of half a second, and using what we just learned, we can see this same trend that we just noticed, but with bigger groups of attempts, which can give us a little bit of a better picture of what's going on. So 1.1 to 1.5 seconds generated the highest passer rating out of these groups, 105. Adjusted completion percentage of 87% about, which is pretty darn good. And we saw that as quarterback held onto the ball longer before throwing it, pass rating declined. Looking at this, I guess you could call it the best time to throw band. See that these throws here happening pretty close to the line of scrimmage. Most popular popular route was the screen route, about 32%. But the slant route, which was the second most targeted, generated a much better passer rating there. So some cool stuff to look at. We can also take a look at how target dispersion changes depending on how long the quarterback waits to throw the ball, and kind of match that up with what was happening to the rating that was generated. So we can look at that spatially here by just clicking through, seeing where those targets ended up, depending on how long quarterback waited to make those throws. And we can see that it looks like the average depth of target certainly is increasing, but holding onto the ball just to throw the ball further downfield wasn't generating a better passer rating. In fact, much worse passer rating. In addition to looking at the aggregate view and seeing, where in total was the best time to throw and worst time to throw and so on, we can drill a little deeper and look at specific routes, for example. We can take a look at the go route. Take a look at the go route here, and we can see that, when the go route was thrown really quickly, which didn't happen all that often, a really strong pass rating was generated. But by and large, go routes were being thrown in about that 2.1 to 2.5 second window. And if you waited a really long time to throw a go route, didn't have a whole lot of success, at least in 2016, as far as pass rating is concerned. So a neat way to drill down and take a look at specific routes. We can also take a look at specific quarterbacks and see what their trend looks like as time goes on. One quarterback that might be interesting to look at is Matt Ryan, particularly looking at his deep throws because he was so successful on those this year. And we can see that, man, he was really successful everywhere up until 5.1 seconds or more. But, I mean, the overwhelming majority of his throws went off in 5.0 seconds or less. So he was in pretty good shape. Um, Most of his throws going off in this bucket here. And we can take a look at the routes that he was targeting most often. The go route, 37% or so, did very well on those. But the post route is where, man, he really crushed it. 19% of his attempts and generated a pass rating of almost 150. Pretty darn impressive. We could change the season view here and compare it to last season, which would be interesting, as he did not do nearly as well on deep routes last year. So that'd be an interesting thing to look at as well. Of course, quarterbacks do more than just throw. And so thinking about how to, aggregate based on dropback and looking at, yards generated per dropback. So as to incorporate, scrambles and, sack yardage and also, penalty yardage potentially as well. So that's built in over here, and we can take a look at it. Let me clear these filters. So over here is yards per dropback or yards per play. Currently these include penalties, but we could change it if we wanted. And there's two views here so that we can take a look at a comparison if we wanted. We can see here that yards per play actually is increasing the longer a quarterback holds onto the ball, sort of in contrast to how pass rating is generated. But we can still see that there is a fall off, obviously, as pressure percentage and sack percentage increase. We're seeing that the yards per dropback is decreasing. A neat one to look at might be Aaron Rodgers. And he is going up against the Dallas defense this weekend. So we can see that Rodgers this year, his kind of peak time to generate yardage is when he's either throwing or running, or potentially getting sacked, I guess, after 2.6 to 3.0 seconds. And interestingly, if we look at how Dallas's defense has worked, that's actually when they've been most vulnerable, is when throws are going off in that time, or potentially the quarterback is scrambling. So it'll be interesting to see if that bears any truth this weekend. But definitely some cool ways to look at quarterback performance depending on time to throw, and hopefully that created some good questions that we can drill deeper on going forward.